We can write using a pencil or we can write using a pen. What we do not do is that we do not write using a Reading pen. All right? Reading pen is always reserved for teachers. But we can write with a blue or a black ink pen. Or we can write with a pencil. What's the difference? When writing with a pen, for example, my is Roy. My name is Roy. Oh, but right here is a mistake. NME, where is the A? No, I can't erase. I can't erase that. But what if I was writing with a pencil? And I make the same mistake, is Roy. I could go back and I could erase. And then I could squeeze the A in, small up these two letters. My name is Roy. And I would not have to erase the whole thing. But with a pen, I was not able to erase. That's the reason why you start writing with a pencil first, and then when you get better at it, then you start using a pen. Make sense? So when we're writing, we do not write up here. All right? We are going to the beach. Full stop. We do not start writing up here. Up here is reserved for if you are putting a title. You don't start writing up here. What you do, you start writing in this line. And you move away from the margin for your first sentence. You indent your paragraph. You can use like the tip of your small finger here to measure the distance between, or an easy way, you could put your pencil here and say, okay, right here. I'm going to start my margin right here. So let me start. Capital letter, the boys at my school are very good. And I start here. I don't start here. I start here at spelling. So I start here and I indent my paragraph. So nothing should be here. I indent my paragraph, then I come back and I start here. What you do not do, you don't do this. Boys at my school are good at spellings. No, you do not do this. That's a no-no. Some people do it all the time, but you should never do this. I see people do this. No, you don't squeeze up your work into a corner unless you're taking notes. But when you're writing a proper sentence to give to your teacher, you can't just squeeze it up inside the corner here. No, you start just like this. You start indent your paragraph, start with a capital letter, and then when you get to the second line, then you start to do this. All right? If you're writing a paragraph, then what would you do? A paragraph is about 3 to 5 sentences. So I start my paragraph. I'm starting here with my paragraph. I go all the way out here. I come here to start. I come here again 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 to start. And I could stop right here. And then when I'm starting my new sentence, I indent my paragraph again. And I start here. Then I go to the bottom line. Then I go to this line. All right, and so my paragraph would look something like this. One paragraph here, another paragraph here. And of course, they could be longer. But each time you're starting a new paragraph, ensure that you indent. each time you're starting a new paragraph. If you just have all your writing down like this, nobody would know when you start a paragraph from when you end. You do not do that. So each time you start a new paragraph, you indent to separate your paragraphs. And remember, a paragraph is a group of sentences expressing the same idea, right? And it's always good to change a new paragraph when you're changing into a new idea. You might not want to change a new idea in the same paragraph. All right, so we must remember. And over here, some people do this. 1, bakery. 2, school. 3, skipping. No, we do not do this. All right, over here is left for 1, bakery. It's the power of using a pencil, you can erase. Bakery. 2, school. Or if you're doing A, or you're doing B, C, whatever you're doing, right? But you put them over here. This red line here is a border, right? We do not start writing over here, right? For example, we don't do this. We don't do this, right? We don't start over here. And this line here is not a border. This line here is the border line for over here. So you don't have to stop writing here. You can go all the way out here, right? You don't squeeze up words over here though. You can stop about here, right? And then you come back to start where your margin is. But some people use this line here and this line here as their border. But you don't have to, because this line here is the border for the next page of on the other side. So you can go all the way out here if you want to. You don't want to go too close to the line, all right? And you don't have to start your letter on the line here as well. You could just ease up a little bit of space when you're writing, all right? I see some people do this also. This is them writing. The box is on the table. Let me write my E better. No, these two spaces are too wide. You could use you could estimate your pencil. The box is on the table. I see people do this because they want to make up space. They want to use up a lot of lines to say they have written a long passage. But if you should put these letters closer, they only write a small amount of things. You don't want to do that, right? So you don't have your words drawn up too close. We don't do this, we do this. Make sense? You don't do this either. This looks as if it is one long word. You want to have space between your words, right? There must be reasonable amount of space between your words. So we do not do that. All right? So those are some of the do's and don'ts we do. Do's and don'ts when we are writing our stories, our essays, our letters, whatever it is you're writing, your paragraph, whatever you're writing. All right? These are some of the things you should do.